So there's this thing called the Doppler effect, which refers to the change of a frequency of a wave relative to an observer. Most people know it as the reason a car sounds like it's getting further away after it passes by, while then others know it as the reason for a cluster of stars moving away from Earth shifting towards the color red. Very few people, however, are familiar with how the Doppler effect relates to pain. As luck would have it, I'm actually friends with one of these people, and his name is Alec Simpson. Alec lives on the other side of the world as me, but I wanted to talk to him about this. So I grabbed my good friend Jake through, we booked flights, and we're off to Scotland to talk to Alec and answer the question, what does the Doppler effect have to do with pain? But before we could talk to Alec, we had to solve a pretty big problem.
We might be trapped in the airport forever. We took off, but then the engines were having problems just before we went over the Pacific Ocean. So they had to turn the flight back around. Now we're back in DC. We're trying to get out of here, but none of the trains are running. None of the stores are open, so we're gonna starve. We're not gonna have transportation anywhere.
I've secretly always kind of wanted to get stuck in an airport overnight. I've always imagined it being like the ultimate sleepover. Having unsupervised free reign over a place that's traditionally very stressful and serious just feels like magic. But as it turns out, the magic fades very fast. And the exact moment you realize that a wheelchair isn't a good place to sleep is the same moment that the magic completely disappears. But it comes back as soon as you wake up and fly to Scotland.
Oh my God. Hello. What are we doing today?
We're gonna go see some sights and sounds. There's some graveyards. We're gonna walk up some hills. We're gonna eat some really good Indian food. We're gonna see some churches. We're gonna see maybe a castle. A really cool PhD office. Get a little lay of the land, a little lay of the city.
We spent the next few hours letting Alec show us around the place that he lives and loves. He also filled us in on a ton of the local history.
They modeled this after like the Greek, what is it? Parthenon?
Peloton.
The Greek Peloton. Well, now it's called the fairy flag. And the legend has it that they can wave it like 3. Oh, there's the cannon. It goes off at 1 every day. So it's 1 o'clock.
This place is not real.
Whenever I hang out with Alec, I'm always blown away by how much I laugh. The dude is like a happiness machine. So for anyone just meeting him, it would be impossible to imagine the extent of what he's been through the past couple years. Now I promise all of this still relates to the Doppler effect. But for you to understand why, you have to hear a little bit more of Alec's story. And it's not my story to tell. So I'm gonna let him do it.
My name is Alec Simpson. I'm in the final stretch of my PhD program at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. And the past 4 years have been anything but easy or normal for me. I lost someone in my life that was very important for me, and with that came a lot of lost dreams, lost future, just basically an earth-shattering thing. There was a lot of things that just kept going wrong. It was like one domino after another, one wrong thing. Just, I can't believe I'm already going through this, and then this happens, you know? It's like another bad thing. It's only recently I kind of realized that I like insulated myself because it was easier to not care about things. And I don't mean that just casually. I mean like a real existential experience of apathy. You know, who cares about my PhD? I think it's a very common thing for people in a PhD program. They come to the end and they're burned out and they're tired and they're writing a 200 plus page thesis that very few people are going to read. In a lot of ways, I feel like the burnout that comes with the end of a PhD is how people feel about their own lives. You know, that life is this one long, extremely confusing project that in a generation or two, no one's going to remember. we've been taught in so many different ways to reduce everything. That attitude, if we're not careful, can get directed towards like just our lives in general, and then we just start deconstructing everything. And being fortunate enough to be able to live in Scotland the past 4 or 5 years has meant that I've gotten to spend a lot of time up in the Highlands. If there's any place in the world where it's really, really hard to be apathetic and just not care and think that there's no magic in the world, it's in the Isle of Skye. And I think it's because you come to this place that is so ancient and mysterious and magical, and I'm reminded of my limits, I'm reminded of my place in the universe, but we've talked about how that sense of the vastness of the universe and how weird it is and how small we are can lead to this sense of meaninglessness, but on the flip side, it can also grant meaning because it's crazy that you're here. At some point, not caring isn't an option, but at another point, you almost have to just laugh. You have to laugh at how ridiculous it is that no one can be Jake Frew. No one else ever in the history of humankind will there be another Jake Frew. Nowhere else will there ever be an Alec Simpson. This is one story that only you get to live. And it's crazy that your story crosses paths with so many other people's stories in a lifetime, and how it all kind of fits together in this weird, bizarre way. That's pretty magical.
The week we spent with Alec fully answered my question about the Doppler effect and pain. When we face something difficult, it starts off loud and close and impossible to ignore. But as time moves on and pain drifts further and further away, its tone begins to change. Sometimes it becomes the drone of apathy. Other times it hums with hope and gratitude. The truth is, you don't get to decide how it changes. But what you do get is to sit back as the observer, watch pain fade away, and be blown away by the fact that it changes it all.